Do you ever experience pain in your toes when you're running, where your feet are sliding forward in your running shoe and causing your toes to press up against the front inside of your shoe? For some people, this can end up with your toenails turning black and even in some cases those toenails falling off. So this is a problem obviously most people want to avoid, but if nothing else, just for the pain that it causes on each footstep as you're running. And what's happening typically is your foot is sliding forward into your shoe, allowing those toes to press up inside the material at the front of the shoe. And this sort of continuous or repeated pressure is enough to sort of cause that pain and discomfort over time. What I'm going to try and show you today is a simple technique you can use to avoid this from happening. So it allows you to keep your foot held back within the shoe so that the pressure at the front is relieved and you don't get the problem of your toes sliding into the front of the shoe. And it's using a technique known as an ankle lock, which uses those extra holes in the top of your running shoes that most people don't know how to use or just leave empty or use incorrectly even, but it's using those extra holes in the way that allows you to lock your foot into the back of your shoe. Now this is something that I typically use myself when I'm trail running or I'm running in a very muddy environment, like doing an obstacle course such as Tough Mudder for example, where there's a big risk of you landing in a very sticky muddy area and then lifting your foot, finding that you've left your shoe behind and now you're running with just your sock. So to avoid that, what I do is use this ankle lock to hold my foot into the shoe much tighter. It's practically impossible for your foot to slide out if you've set up the ankle lock correctly. But the benefit I'm talking about here is using that ankle lock to hold your foot back so that your toes don't slide forward into the shoe. Now this problem it's something that even with your shoes fitted correctly, you still can apply pressure into those toes, which causes this issue. And it gets particularly bad usually when you're running downhill, because then the extra force of hitting the floor in a way that your foot is naturally going to try and slide forward a bit more, so that your toes are pressing even harder into the front. It can also be down to your running technique, and it's great to have a good running assessment carried out if you want to understand if that technique is partly causing the problem as well. So what I'm going to do now is just set the camera up to demonstrate how to do the ankle lock on my own shoe, and then I'll come back and talk to you about the benefits of that later. Okay, so as you see here, my shoe is set up now as normally I would have my laces tied, etc. And there's room in my shoe, but I've simulated my foot sliding forward into the front of the shoe so that you can see there's very little room there. It's straight into hitting my toes. So if I'm running and applying pressure in that way, so my toes sliding forward constantly and hitting the front, that repeated trauma is what's causing the bruising and the pain in the toe area. Now I can slide my foot back into these shoes because they are fitted well for me, and I've now got enough space in there that I know my toes are not going to be hitting and causing any problem. So obviously what we want to do is try to encourage the foot to stay in that rear position so it doesn't slide forward. And the way we do that is to use these extra holes that you have in the tops of your shoes, which we'll use to create this ankle lock. So start by undoing my shoelace. So I've got my laces coming out of the last but one hole out to the sides, and then all I do is I take that lace and feed it back through that extra hole and pull it in, creating that loop on the outside with my lace now on the inside. And then I'll do the same on the other side. So I'll pull the lace through and leave that loop, and make sure you're leaving a bit of a loop there, because what we're going to do now is pass the lace from one side through the loop on the opposite side, and we do that with both sides. So as you see, I've got the loops going over the laces and they're ready for me to tighten. And the way to tighten them is if you pull up and then pull out and down at the same time, and then pull up, out and down, and basically keep repeating that little movement there until you get to a point where you can feel that the shoe is being held on tightly. You can feel there's a little bit more pressure here, which is holding your foot in position, and the laces typically will stay in place there without you needing to hold them. So what you do then is just tie your shoelace as normal,
single knot, double knot, whatever you like. One thing you might notice though is because of the extra material you've used up, you've got less lace to tie at the end. So that can either be just ends up with a smaller knot, or you might need to get longer laces so that you've got a bit more room to play with, or even look at tying your shoe differently so you don't use up so much of the lace in that in the way you tie it, so you've got the extra to work with after you've put the ankle lock in position. So what we've got now is my ankle is held very tightly down into the back of the shoe. It's still comfortable, got no problem with that, and I've still got plenty of space around the toe area, so I know even when I'm hitting the floor repeatedly, I'm still keeping that space in there because my foot is being held back. And then to undo the lace, it's exactly the same in reverse, so just undo the knot and open it out. Now you'll find, because it's held tight, that it's a little bit difficult to undo and to grab these, depending on how tight and wet and particularly muddy they're getting. So all you want to do is just lift that tongue up a little, just try to pull these top ones in so that you create these loops in the middle, and then that'll give you a little bit more slack to pull the loops back out on the outside. Then you can take them out. Now you can leave the loops there if you want to use the ankle locks next time, and just open the shoe up, and now I've got plenty of room to take my foot out of the shoe. And then you just go back to what you need to do to tie them back up again. If you want to go back to normal laces, obviously just pull the loops out and just retie your shoe as normal.
So there you go, a nice simple ankle lock technique that'll help you to hold your foot back in your shoe so that your toes are not constantly pressing into the front of the shoe. This will hopefully help to relieve any pressure you experience when you're running, and stop those nails turning black and falling off, which obviously isn't the nicest experience in the world. Getting a good running shoe fit is vitally important for runners. Now we're relying on those running shoes for providing a lot of the cushioning and support that we use when we're running, and the protection from the ground surface we're running on. So making sure you get a shoe that fits well and is the right shoe for you is very important. And I've created a free guide that you can download. I'll make sure there's a link or a form down below for you to use, that will allow you to more confidently choose the correct running shoes for you and know what it is you're looking for and how to tell that it's the right one when you're in that environment where you're trying on these different shoes and working out what's the best one to use. And also a little bit in there about getting the best deals once you do know the right running shoe for you. So I'll make sure that link is down below. It's a simple 7-step guide. Have a read through. There's a bit of background in there about the science and the why I've created the guide the way I have. But it's certainly what I use for my own running shoes, and also what I always recommend for my clients if they're buying new running shoes as well. And even there's been occasions where I've gone shopping for running shoes with clients, and it's the same process that I take them through when we're in the shop looking at the different shoes. So if you think that'd be useful, please go ahead and grab a copy. I'll add you to my email list by doing that, and I'll only ever send you information I think is useful, and you can always unsubscribe at any time anyway. So no harm, no foul, just use what you need, and hopefully you'll find it beneficial. Okay, so until next time, bye for now.